Okay, tonight's video is going to be a review video for our Module 1 end of module assessment. So in this video, I'm going to go through multiple examples of things that you will need to know for your Module 1 test, which will be on Wednesday. Okay, so here's my first equation, 2 and 1500ths times 10 to the second power. This is something that you should be able to demonstrate on a place value chart, and you should also be able to explain in words the shifting of your digits on that place value chart. So I can go ahead and I can quickly draw a place value chart. Okay, so there is my place value chart, and then I'm going to go ahead and plug this number into my chart. I have 2 ones, 1/10, and 5/100. Remember, my decimal doesn't move. Now I'm looking at this in exponential form, so I am multiplying by 10 to the second power. Well, I know 10 to the second power is simply a 1 with 2 zeros, because my exponent tells me how many zeros I should have after my 1. Now I am multiplying, so that tells me that my number should be getting bigger and my digits should be shifting to a larger place value on my place value chart, so they should be shifting to the left. So I have 2 zeros, so each digit will shift 2 times. 1, 2. So I will write my 2 now in the hundreds place, and then every digit that comes after will follow. And my decimal does not move, so my answer to my original equation is now 215. So I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way, and I'm going to say that my answer here to my original equation equals 215. To explain the shift in my digits, I could say that each digit moved 2 places to the left on my place value chart, or because if you remember here, this 10 to the second power is the same thing as 100, I could say that the value got 100 times larger, or 100 times greater. So let's try another thing. Something else that you will need to do is be able to multiply a decimal by a whole number, and you will be able to do that using either a place value chart or an area model. So I will quickly demonstrate both of those for you. So let's say we have 3 times 2 and 1500ths. The first way that we could do this is an area model. So I see that I have 1, 2, 3 digits here. So I'm going to draw myself 3 boxes. My first factor is 3, so I'm going to write my 3 over here, and then I'm going to plug in my 3 digits. I have 2 ones, I have 1/10, and I have 5/100. Okay, and then I'm going to multiply each box. So 3 times 2 ones would be 6 ones. 3 times 1/10 would be 3/10. And 3 times 5/100 would be 1500. Now that I have the product for each box, I would go ahead and add those up. And then I could also just write 6 ones in here so that I don't get confused. So I have 6 ones, 3/10, so that tells me that I have a 3 in my 10th place, and now I have 1500ths. Well, if my next place here is going to be the hundredths place, we know that I can't put 2 digits in the same place value. So if I tried to put 15 here, my 1 would need to move over and my 5 could stay in the hundredths. So if my 1 moves over, I am left with 6 ones, 4/10, and my 5 would stay right here in the hundredths place. So my product would be 6 45/100. Now I could demonstrate this same problem using a place value chart. So if I'm going to quickly draw a place value chart, my tenths, my hundredths, ones, tens, hundredths. And if you remember, when we're multiplying, I can go ahead and I can write into my place value chart the discs that I have. So in my original equation, we're back up here, 3 times 2 and 15/100. I have 3 ones, or oops, excuse me, I have 2 ones. So I have 2 ones, I have 1/10, and I have 5/100. And because I am multiplying by 3, this is where my 3 will come in, and I have 3 copies of that. So I'm going to add 3 copies. Okay, so there's my 3 copies, and now I just add up what I have in each, under each place value heading. So if I'm looking in my hundredths place, I have 5, 10, 15/100. I have 1, 2, 3 tenths, and 2, 4, 6 ones. And just like when we used our area model, we know that I can't leave 15 in the hundredths place, so my 1 must move over, my 5 can stay. So when I move that extra 1 over, I'm now adding that 1 to my 3. And I still have 6 in the ones place, 3 plus 1 is 4, and I still have my 5 right here that is left in my hundredths place. So I get the same answer, 6 45/100. You could choose whichever method is best for you. Working with that same answer, 6 45/100, you are also going to need to understand standard form, word form, and expanded form. So standard form is written just like it is, 6.45. If I wanted to take this number and write it into word form, I'll just abbreviate here, word form. When we're writing in word form, we write it exactly as we would say the number if we were reading it. So I would write this as 6 and, remember, the only time we use the word and is when we are referring to the decimal point. 6 and anything that comes behind your decimal, you read as one number, and then you name it by the last place. So I read that all together as 45. And the last place that I see is the hundredths place. So I will name that 6 45/100. Now, if you get confused naming these, use your place value chart. Go ahead and plug that number right in. So because we already have this done, I'm going to flip back to that screen. And you can see right here, I have this number right into my place value chart already. I'm just going to extend these lines. So you can see that my 5 is in the hundredths place. So that's where I'm getting the name from. My last digit gets named by the place value that it is in. Okay, the other thing that you would need to do is to write this in expanded form. Again, I'm abbreviating here. So to write this in expanded form, again, you can use your place value chart to help you, but you're just going to pull out each digit and multiply it by the place value in which it's in. So my 6 is in the ones place, so that I would do 6 times 1, because my 6 is in the ones place, and add that to 4 times 1/10, because my 4 is in the tenths place, and my 5 is in the hundredths place, so that'll be 5 times 1/100. And then add those all together, and that's how I could represent that in expanded form. Remember, the other way that you could do this is also by using a decimal instead of a fraction. So I could also do it this way. 6 times 1 plus 4 times 1/10 plus 5 times 1/100. Okay, either way would be acceptable if you choose to write it in the fraction or in the decimal. You will also need to be able to divide using decimals. So let's say we had 38 and 4/10 divided by 3. You could use the standard algorithm here. So I'm going to go ahead and look and see how many times 3 can go into 3. And then I multiply. 1 times 3 is 3. I subtract, I get 0. I bring down my 8. 3 can go into 8 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. I subtract again, I get 2. I bring down my 4. And 3 can go into 24 8 times. So 3 times 8 is 24. My decimal goes straight up. So my answer would be 12 8/10. If I didn't want to use the standard algorithm for my division, I could use a place value chart. So you can see I took my 38 and 4/10 and I put in my 3/10, my 8/1, and my 4/10, and then I would be dividing that into 3 groups. So I would make my 3 groups on my place value chart. And then it's just doing fair share to divvy up those discs that I have. So if I start over here with my tens place, just like I started the tens place in the standard algorithm, I have 3 discs there, so I could fit those equally into my 3 groups. 1, 2, 3, I've used them all. I have 8 in the ones place, so I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 2 left now that I cannot use because I have 3 places and that wouldn't be equal. So 2 of these are going to move over now to the tens place. And when they move over, each one will now turn into 10. So by moving 2, I will now have 20. So I'm just going to write 20 instead of trying to draw 20 dots over there. So I have 4 there already, plus the 20 that I just moved over. So now I have 24 discs in my tens place. I have 24 that I'm dividing into my 3 groups. So I know that that's going to give me 8 discs for each group. So I could go ahead and draw in those 8 discs for each group. And then I would have used up all 24. And then what I'm looking for here is, I know that each group is the same because I did that equally. So what do I have in each group? In each group I have 1 10, I have 2 1s, and I have 8 10ths. So my answer is 12 8/10, just like I got using my standard algorithm. You'll also need to remember the strategies that we have learned for adding decimals. So if I want to add 5 2/10 plus 3 12/100, I'm going to line them up vertically and make sure that I'm lining up my decimal point. So I have 5 2/10 plus 3 12/100. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this 0 because it's easier when I'm adding if everything looks like it goes out to the same place. And we know that we could keep on adding as many zeros as we needed to. Once they're behind the decimal, it's not going to change the value of that number. So now everything looks nice and lined up, and I can go ahead and just add the way that I normally would. 2 and 0 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. My decimal point stays right there. 5 plus 3 is 8. So my answer would be 8 32/100. You will also want to remember that when you are comparing decimals, that you will want to get everything into standard form first, And again, add 0